Before pyramids touched the sky, before empires marched across continents, the first civilizations were already rising and collapsing. They were born in silence, in places where survival itself was uncertain. In the fertile lands of Mesopotamia, between the restless waters of the Tigris and Euphrates, something extraordinary began. Around 4000 BCE, humanity made a decision that would change history forever. Instead of moving with the seasons, they stayed. They built. The people of Sumer transformed mud into cities. They redirected rivers. They carved order out of chaos. Cities like Uruk rose from the dust, filled with temples, markets, and laws. And for the first time in history, humans were no longer just surviving. They were organizing, ruling, expanding. But the question is not how these civilizations rose. The mystery is why they fell. Because the truth is, the world's first civilizations didn't simply disappear. Something happened to them. And what happened shaped the world we live in today. To understand what really happened, we need to look beyond kings and wars. Because the first threat didn't come from invading armies, it came from nature itself. The same rivers that gave life to early cities were unpredictable. Floods came without warning. Droughts stretched for years. In Mesopotamia, irrigation made farming possible, but it carried a hidden cost. Over time, water from the Euphrates left behind salt in the soil. Year after year, harvests weakened. Fields that once fed thousands turned barren. Food shortages followed. Populations grew restless, and slowly the foundation of civilization, agriculture, began to fail. Meanwhile, far to the west along the lifeline of the Nile, the stability of ancient Egypt depended on predictable floods. For centuries, the river rose and fell with perfect rhythm, until it didn't. Around 2200 BCE, climate shifts reduced the Nile's flooding. Crops failed, famine spread. The mighty Old Kingdom weakened, not because of invasion, but because nature stopped cooperating. At the same time, another civilization in the vast cities of the Indus Valley faced its own silent crisis. Urban centers like Mohenjo-Daro began to empty, not destroyed, not burned, just abandoned. River systems shifted, monsoons changed, trade routes collapsed, and without water, the cities could not survive. The fall of the first civilizations was not always dramatic. Sometimes it was quiet. But nature was only part of the story, because when systems weaken, pressure builds, and eventually, something breaks. As food became scarce and stability faded, migration began. New groups moved into fragile regions already struggling to survive. In Mesopotamia, waves of outsiders entered from surrounding lands. Among them were the Akkadians, led by one man, Sargon of Akkad. Around 2300 BCE, he conquered the Sumerian city-states and forged history's first true empire. But conquest did not solve the deeper problem. Environmental stress still lingered beneath the surface. As cities fought for dwindling resources, conflict intensified. Empires rose rapidly, but they also became harder to sustain. Centuries later, another powerful force emerged. The Akkadian Empire itself began to crumble, not from rebellion alone, but from prolonged drought. Evidence suggests a massive climate event struck the region around 2200 BCE. Rainfall declined, dust storms increased, agriculture collapsed again, and once more, cities emptied. Further north, the powerful Hittite Empire would later face a similar fate. And across the eastern Mediterranean, even advanced societies like the Mycenaean civilization eventually vanished during the Great Bronze Age collapse. This was not coincidence, it was a pattern. Civilizations were not falling from a single blow, they were unraveling, piece by piece. So what really happened to the world's first civilizations? They didn't vanish in a single moment. They were not wiped out by one great disaster or one unstoppable enemy. Instead, they reached limits. Limits of environment, limits of technology, limits of control. In places like Mesopotamia, The land itself grew exhausted. In the valleys of the Indus Valley, rivers moved on, leaving cities behind. In the shadow of the Nile, stability faltered when nature shifted. And across regions once ruled by powers like the Akkadian Empire, internal strain made survival impossible. But collapse did not mean extinction, because even when cities fell, their ideas did not. Writing survived, law survived, trade survived. Beliefs and technologies and knowledge passed forward from Sumerians to Babylonians, from Egyptians to Greeks, from early builders to later empires. Civilizations didn't disappear, they transformed. Their people scattered, their systems evolved, their innovations became foundations for new worlds. And in truth, the story of the first civilizations is not a story of failure, it is a story of inheritance, because every modern society still carries something they created: the first cities, the first governments, the first written words. Their fall was not an ending, it was the beginning of history itself.